In a conference with 4 Hall of Fame coaches, it's Tony Bennett who is setting the standard. I'm Jeff Fischel. This is the ACC Now, brought to you by Ruby Tuesday. Bennett's Virginia Cavaliers are undefeated and number 2 in the nation. Who's your pick for Cavs MVP at this point of the season? Tweet me at the ACCDN. Coach Bennett sat down with coaching great Digger Phelps to talk about the family business, who he emulates besides his dad, and why he took the Virginia job.
You end up playing for your dad at Green Bay. How is it when you got to play for your dad, father, son, and all of a sudden, how do you get hooked on coaching? Because of him and what he did for you?
Yeah, well, I always said first playing for my dad, the good is great and the bad is terrible. It's so exaggerated, but I really, and it's a true story, because my sister, she was a head coach at Indiana for 5 years, head coach at Evansville, and right now she's at Northern Illinois. But I swore off coaching. It is the last thing I wanted to do, and because I watched my father. Father's a fiery Italian.
Right.
I got a little more of my mom's personality, thank goodness. But I watched him, and I even watched my sister. I said, this isn't for me. I said, this is too much of a roller coaster ride. Well, I went overseas after a few years in the NBA. I got injured there, and they said, why don't you be a player coach and help us out? And once I did that, I said, this might be the next best thing. And then I still wasn't sold on it. I knew my father was going to retire from Wisconsin. My first year back helping his program, they go to the Final Four.
Yes.
So I said, hey, this is easy. This is enjoyable. You go to the Final Four. I kind of like this. So then I was hooked, and I didn't realize the hard work that had to go with it.
Your dad's a mentor. Bo Ryan's a mentor. Why did you become the coach you are now?
Yeah.
When you look at your style as a coach?
My father, Coach Ryan, Coach Knight, those people, and then some of those, just again, I knew the kind of players that I would probably have to recruit to have success with, and it's just what was modeled before me. I think when you see something modeled before you and it has success, you have to teach and coach what you know. When you start venturing away from it, I think it can get tricky. And it's just, my father was influenced by Vince Lombardi,
yeah, right,
and that idea of simplicity with execution. So all those things. There's so many great coaches out there, but I just chose a few and tried to learn as much as I could.
You go from the Big Ten to the Pac-12 now. In Washington State, your dad takes that job, which shocked a lot of people.
Me too.
And now you go there with an assistant. What was that experience with your dad out there?
It was good. It's probably, I enjoyed it. I didn't get yelled as much because I was his assistant, although out there. But not a lot of people know this, but one of the reasons my dad, he had taken Wisconsin to the Final Four, retired, I think was out for about 3 years. He said, son, if we go out there and we can show some progression or some improvement, I want you to get your footing. And if Washington State thinks it's going in the right direction, they'll turn it over to you. Now that was a tall order because it hadn't. So he kind of, for 3 years, took the bullets for me. In our program, we weren't very good. We were competitive. And the administration said, we'll give Tony a chance. And so I took over a team that hadn't won much, but we were at least experienced. And not a lot of people do that. I mean, he took kind of his career,
right.
His excellence, said, we're going to get beat up. I don't care about winning and losing. Here you go, son. He said, I don't know if you can do it. As a matter of fact, I don't think you can. He said, this is going to be hard, but you got a chance.
When you decided to leave Washington State and go to Virginia, knowing that Carolina and Duke are the powers, you just say, okay, fine. I'm going to come in and do it my way, build this program. And last year, you just go everywhere, ending up as the number 1 seed, winning the ACC, anything that happened, you got it done. How did you feel that coming from Washington State, you can go to Virginia and make this happen?
Well, I didn't know if we could or not, but I liked the prospects. And when I was in the Pac-10 with Washington State, I really marveled at Stanford. I always did. It was such a fine school academically, but yet to me it had the best of both worlds. It gave you a chance to compete and have excellence, for national championships. And when Virginia came along, there were some other schools during that time because our Washington State team had some success, and none of them felt right. But when Virginia came along, I liked what it stood for. I liked the history. With a lot of things, my wife and I, we had said no on other things. We really felt the peace about it. We both have a strong faith and just felt like this was a time to make the move, to take the step. And then, like you mentioned, Coach, with Carolina and Duke, in a way it was daunting, but in a way, my father kind of drilled it in my head, you got to test yourself against the best. And if you want to find out what you got, test yourself against the best. And I thought, what an opportunity to see if we can build a program the right way at a great school. I mean, we don't have Ralph Sampson. He's not coming back, but we've got some good things. And it's kind of there's a lot of stuff going on, facilities, community, and all that stuff.
There's more great back and forth between Tony and Digger. You can watch the full interview on campusinsiders.com. And go to the ACC.com for highlights of UVA's dominant win over Clemson last night, taking the Hoos to 16-0. I'm Jeff Fischel. That's the ACC Now, brought to you by Ruby Tuesday.